Welcome to On the Edge with Deneen Dias. I have been looking forward to this discussion today with my two favorite ladies that I've known for over 10 years, and I've probably learned the most from regarding CAS over the last 10 years. So Christine Triantos and Dixie McCurley, could you both please introduce yourselves?
Sure. Thanks, Deneen. Yeah, so my name's Christine Triantos. I'm with BDO, based in Denver, Colorado, and I oversee our West region within BDO and our technology team. Been with BDO, started with them 26 years ago, and we were required by a small firm and now back at the large firm. So just kind of have that array of small and large firm concepts in building the CAS practice.
Thanks, Christine. And Dixie?
Hi, Deneen. Thanks so much for having me. I lead the practice for Client and County Services, or CAS, at Cherry Bekaert. And at Cherry Bekaert, we're a top 20, 25 firm. I, for 10 years, ran a small boutique CAS practice and started a brand new practice at Cherry Bekaert a few years back, and working on that every day to really build out what clients want from their CPA firms.
Well, let's dive right in, because that's what I think is nice about both of you. Is when I first met you, you were with smaller firms, and now you're both at larger firms. And so I'd love to really kind of talk about that. We can start with you, Christine, on now at a larger firm, like what are you focusing on to continue to grow and build out this part of your practice?
Sure. Yeah, I think, what we're focusing on right now is really the technology piece of it. How are we bringing in technology to create efficiencies? And at the moment, we are, have been onboarding Botkeeper in the last few months. So that actually is at the forefront of our goals and initiatives right now. So it's been really great because I think, like every other firm, we have capacity, issues. That there's the availability of great people to come join tomorrow is slim. And so having implemented Botkeeper recently, we're just kind of learning everything, adapting to what that looks like, shifting what we possibly, can shift over there. So between that and capacity, it also really is circular, is what I like to call it. Is circular with what it could do for profit margins, how we're sourcing the work, how we're just completing it on all different levels. So it's just been a really big initiative, but it's been between technology, profit margin, and capacity. So it's been all of those, I think, just go hand in hand. And so this has been a really great opportunity for us to kind of see how we can utilize Botkeeper to achieve all of those things.
Yeah, we're thrilled to be working with you. The other thing I'd love for you to talk about a bit is offshoring, because I know that's also part of, the technology, the offshoring, the budget, right, capacity issues, like that's part of that circle. So can you share sort of your thinking around that and what you're planning for this year around that as well?
So yeah, so for us with offshoring, we do have with our internal practice within BDO, and we call it RISE, and it's based in India. And we just have grown that practice so much over the last, even year, but then 6 months even, just with the levels of people that we're staffing in India and offshore has been amazing. And the talent and the experience that we've been able to gain from them has been fantastic. So, I mean, for us, it's a big initiative for us too. But and our clients are loving it. They work with them directly too, and so it's working really well for us.
So how are you looking at incorporating Botkeeper into that, strategy that?
Yeah. So for us, bringing Botkeeper in, we were really just trying to have the right expectations, set the right expectations, right? Because knowing what Botkeeper can do, we're saying, okay, let's take the accounts payable and let's take month-end close, and really trying to be reasonable to say, let's just say 70, 75% of the accounts payable, we're going to have Botkeeper do, because now our staff and seniors are going to review that work that they would have maybe normally prepared it, right? So it's never just going straight to the client. Month-end close too. If we could take 35, 40% of that month-end close and have Botkeeper close that, I feel like, you know, that's just the right percentage kind of going into this, to just then run some analytics on the hours and the time that we're able to shift over, and the capacity that we now have at that staff senior level, then for them to just rise up, right? Highest and best use of all of our team, all of our staff members. They want to learn, they want to grow. And this is a really great way to elevate them, and for some of our managers to push that work down and then elevate them as well into the advisory, selling more of the advisory services. So again, it just comes full circle, and it's just, we're really excited, and I think it's going to work really, really well, but with the expectation that it's going to take a good 6 to 12 months, right? This isn't kind of just an out of the gate, you're going to see these results in 30 days and boom, here we go. It's a process, and we're invested in that.
It looks like your dog behind you is excited too.
Yeah.
Beauty. Well, Dixie, did you want to add on to anything that Christine said from your perspective when it comes to how you're structuring with technology and talent this year?
Sure. I mean, everything Christine says, it really resonates with me. My top 2 topics really this year is digital transformation, what all that means, and then also making sure we're industry aligned. With that, I think about a few things. I always think about our clients and what they want and need. They are coming to us asking for dashboards, analytics, all of those type things, and we just happen to be that provider that we have all the data. Additionally on that, they want someone who understands their industry. I've never heard it more than ever that, do you work with restaurants? Do you work with real estate? Do you work with wholesale distributors? All of those things, clients want to know it. And when they're talking to other firms at the same time, they are picking the ones that know their industry the most and the ones that aren't afraid of technology. So those 2 things, really being digitally driven and industry aligned, I think is where, 10 years later in CAS, that we've got to continue to change. When I think about digital transformation, tools are tools. The accounting profession is really good at reconciling. They're really good at month-end close. And so it's not that in the year 2004 that we didn't know how to do an account reconciliation. It's just now we have new digital tools that will allow us to not just do 1 or 2 or 10 clients, but how we train our team and our staff working with partners, we should be able to do 100 instead of 10. So to Christine's point, it's growth. Can we put 35% there? Can we go from 10 to 20 to 50? That's what's at our fingertips right now. There's no difference in when Bill.com launched with a lot of the CAS practices years ago. I mean, Deneen, you and I have talked about that over and over and over again. There were firms that didn't want to adopt it, that they were tied to paper checks. The same thing here. Firms have the decision to either build it or buy it. So if I were to build an AI model right now that works like the technology and workflow and document management, the platform for Botkeeper, versus let's test it, make sure we get 25% humming, and then go to the next step, we might try both. We might try to build a version of it and buy a version of it. And same thing that we did with all the other technology partners. This is not a siloed, the firms do what they want and also technology partners do what they want. This is a partnership of collaboration, and that's how we're all going to be successful together. Just a couple of other things around digital. CAS operations works quite different than the whole of the rest of the firm. How we manage it, it reminds me of my days of call center work. You can have 1 million calls come in throughout the nation, and how are you going to get all of those accomplished? It's the same thing with requests from clients these days. So we have to figure out how CAS operations and metrics work differently That's another big problem, is that, the workflow and all of that is still an evolving process. I think that Botkeeper is one of the technology partners. I think there's a lot of other really good ones out there. And we've got to put this ecosystem together that works for us and our clients, and then turns our people into advisors instead of clerks. And that's that journey of, I think, where we are for the next 5 to 10 years to work out, is that we will be doing something different than we are in data entry clerks.
Oh, yeah, it's funny, as you're talking, Dixie, I was thinking about a presentation I did yesterday at my daughter's school. So yesterday was career day, and they invited in parents to speak about their career. And so I spoke to a bunch of 4th to 8th graders. And my presentation was not necessarily just about Botkeeper, but it was about AI, innovation, disruption, but all thinking about them. Because what are their careers going to be like when they graduate from college in the next 10 years? And so I pulled a lot of data from the World Economics Forum about, like, actually AI, and don't quote me on this, but had a chart of like AI, humans and AI right now in the year 2023. And it was like a statistics that the humans are doing, I think, like 55% of the work, and the AI is doing 33% of the work. But in 2025, which is just another 3 years away, there's a shift happening where they're saying AI is going to be doing 66% of the work, and humans are going to be doing, 30-some% of the work. And so what does that mean? And I didn't want to scare them. It actually means exciting things, because it's going to free up in all industries, the mundane, time-consuming things that people do, freeing them up to do new jobs. And there was another statistics that said 65% of the people graduating in that room were going to be doing a job that is not currently a job. So, there's going to be all these new jobs that come out of this. So what does this mean for the profession? And I think firms like yourselves that are progressive, that are thinking ahead, that have people like you at the helm, that are making change and pushing your talent to change, to say, hey, let's free you up to not do it the way we've always had to do it. It's not a threat to your career. It's actually going to be exciting for you to be able to work with your clients in new ways. And so how is your, because I'll admit, like, some of the firms that have worked with Botkeeper, the talent are resisting us. And I've seen that with all technology that I've worked with firms, Bill.com, right? They've resisted it because they're comfortable doing it the way they've always done it, and they're not comfortable doing new things. And so what are you seeing with the talent this year? How are you talking to them to excite them about not being threatened, but all the opportunity that's to come? Go ahead, either one.
Yeah, for us, it is a comfort level, right? I mean, they just get so comfortable in what they're doing day to day, but it's really just, I always say this, work yourself out of a job and trust me that you will, right? Because we want you to embrace all of the technology. We want to teach you everything that we can, and show you how you can be efficient and elevate yourself. Again, highest and best use. I say it to them all the time. But it's taking that and building that trust and setting the right expectations too, to again say this is a process. So you know what, I need you to push this work down, and we're going to have to say, your billable time, we understand what it's going to do, because the other work is going to shift down too, and it's going to be a process, and it's going to be time. So, and with the capacity issues, it just works really well, because we do, it is exciting. Technology is exciting to us. And so when we can just put that excitement into, this whole package, they seem to love it. And that's been our experience too. But I mean, it didn't start out that way, right? I mean, so it's been a course of time and education and just conversations to get to that comfort level and shift.
And Dixie, how about you?
To me, it's funny. I go to personality of people and how to get people to move. Change is scary. One of my roles throughout my entire career has been change catalyst. There's this level of my dad being a helicopter pilot that makes me be almost fearless sometimes about change, and maybe to a fault, of I'm not that afraid of change. I'm actually an early adopter. And when you go back to crossing the chasm and you think about it, we're just at a new chasm right now. It is
Mhm.
really hard to get people out of their comfort zone. I love that word, Christine. However, you can do it if you show them the vision and show them how. And so there's a lot of leadership tools that we
Mhm.
have to continue to deploy, and why the CAS leaders cannot be the doers on clients. There's a lot of CAS leaders out there that are burdened on, they still have to do the client work.
Right.
And when you're doing both of those things, it doesn't always help get it fully adopted because you're not there to coach them. And that's the big part of, if you look at other things, like if you're a coach on the field, you're never going to go in and be a player. So you have to remind yourself about all those leadership tips to make sure that the CAS practice is running, that the change management has project
Mhm.
management in it. You've got to have feedback loop from the client. That client success is so important. And oftentimes we only just focus on the accounting work instead of
Mhm.
all of those other things of CAS operating that you've got to put into place. And so for me, it's about being a great leader to show them how it works, figure it out, get in, dig in. When you do it one time, it comes back to you 10 times over on the value. So if you're in a chaotic moment, you've got to take a deep breath. Let's step back. Let's rejig this for the moment. Let's get some capacity, and then let's implement and adopt it fully. So there's a lot of training you can do on project management, client success, how the feedback loops, collaboration that will really help get over that hump.
To add to that too, I think it also allows them to work on various clients, right? They're not just stuck on just this subset of clients that, they're doing all of that manual work that could be done
Time
with
consuming. Yep.
efficiencies, right? And so like it just expands their knowledge into all these other different industry groups that they can learn, because then they have more capacity, right? Because implementing the software and technology that can create those efficiencies does wonders for your capacity. I mean, figure that piece out before you just keep hiring people, because you don't know what you need until you have that in place.
Yes, I agree. And I'm glad to hear that's a focus of yours this year, right? Is really automate, standardize, process change, technology. That's a big focus, because once you get that in place and you start freeing up your people, then they can start working in new ways with clients, in ways when you're advising, I think is exciting. To me, that's what is, I would think would be the most rewarding, even if they're not used to it or comfortable with it. I think that's very rewarding. So we've talked about the technology, we've talked about your talent. Talk to me about the client. I know Dixie, you talked a little bit about that, but you're saying clients are asking for different things, right? They're asking for dashboards, they're asking for digital transformation. Could you share more about that? Because I want to hear what you're hearing out there right now from the client.
Sure. There's some work out there that says the 8 keys to success in a CAS practice, and you can go through all of them. Everybody knows that. I think the 9th key to success in a CAS practice is about the client experience. And sometimes we spin our wheels doing things for clients that are unimportant to them. If we don't talk to them about what's your highest priority this month or this week or in the
Mm-hmm.
next coming months, if we're not talking to them to see what they're doing in their business, how they're going to be modifying, all clients are going through digital transformation. I hate to go back to all the pandemic talk, but every restaurant had to change. The ones that didn't want to go do to-go orders and have a website and have all that presence and have that technology there, they are no longer in business. So business models are shifting. Digital transformation is across every single industry, every single process almost. Technology is at the forefront. So for me, the client experience is what's the most important to them, and then make sure to deliver that within your standard templates, et cetera, but don't waste time on the unimportant things.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got to look at, we should be running predictive index and personalities on our clients. That client experience, a lot of it has to do with what's their personality profile. Are they detail oriented, or are they high level big picture? Because all you have to do is deliver one of those. So I go back to the We all have 256 dashboards to look at as the accountant. We become the guardians of that. I owe that to Ron Baker at the Digital CPA Conference. He talked about we're the guardians of this. And then they want a curated experience. So we have to cater to the personality of what the client needs when they want it. They need it daily. They want their own dashboards. They either want a self-service or they want us to deliver it. We now have all the digital tools at our fingertips to provide that to them, but it's about the experience. It's not about flooding them with everything we have. It's not about giving them a login to everything we have. And that's usually the mistake we make on client experience that we've got to learn how to do better.
Yeah, it's so true. I'll give you an example. It just popped in my head. Excuse me. I went on a trip to Israel with my mother for 2 weeks, and it was one of those, buses that was the same people. They took us from town to town and checked us into the hotel, and it was the same tour guide. And the guy knew his stuff, but he bored me to tears because it was data. It was so much information about Israel. And I was like, stick a fork in me. I'm done. I don't want to hear this guy talk anymore. And so when we were on the tour guides, I would listen, or on the tours, I would listen to other tour guides, and the other tour guides were telling stories and bringing the information to life and making it interesting. And I was like so over him. And I think, it just popped into my head that I've always said, Dixie, you're storytellers. You need to share the client's data in a way that makes sense to them. And that's not a financial statement, right? What do they do with that financial statement? They look for their cash flow and they throw it in the trash. And firms have spent so much time with the data, making the data look a certain way, and the client doesn't care about that financial report. They want you to tell a story about their numbers. They want to make it make sense to them and meaningful. And what does this mean? And so, I love what you're saying, Dixie. I would love for you both to share more. Like, how are you empowering and helping your team to be the data storytellers, to bring it to life?
I mean, for us too, it is everything that you and Dixie are saying, because it's that advisory piece, right? And teaching our staff to how to be advisors, which means bringing them in on every possible meeting and phone call that we have with them, right? Because until they hear it over and over, they're not going to learn that. But it's having the conversation with our clients to say, what's useful to you? Because I don't want to waste our time preparing something that isn't useful to you and you just file it, and we're not reviewing that. But again, to both of your points, it's not about where they've been. It's about what are we presenting to you that can pivot and adjust for how you're going to move forward with your business. What is working, what isn't working, and allowing them to make those business decisions faster with the information that's presented to them.
Agreed. Yeah. And Dixie?
So many things running through my head. How are we empowering the team? I think we have to look at our profession, and I go back to the AICPA, and when Tom Hood put together the T-shaped professional, we've got to have wide skills that run deep in industry niches. That's a big part. I think for us in CAS, we have to build a knowledge base, and we have to build our own curriculum for our CAS team. To me, I watched, through these roadmap workshops that both Christina and I teach for CPA.com to teach about how to be successful in a CAS practice. There's a lot of charts of accounts for various industries. You can go to the industry leaders there and pull down a standard chart of accounts. Well, how are you going to fit that into your CAS practice? If you're not doing that work of your CAS database and knowledge base for all of your team and where you're headed with that, and layer on, those overhead projectors where you could lay over a new clear sheet so they could see something different. They still have to see that old sheet. You layer over the new sheet, they see something different. That's what we've really got to do to empower our team, is that it's not that we're ripping out everything. It's that this additional layer they can learn, and we can take it off and we can put it back on, and we can take it off and we can all get comfortable. It's not to add more work. And I think that's a big part of what our staff go through, and the team members on it, is that, oh, this is one more thing to do the work. But you have to iterate. And that's where I think you have to have two different teams. You should have a special projects teams. And I get back to football, like you can all play offense and defense, et cetera, and then also you can have a special teams, but it's hard for everybody to do both. So that's the thing. Give them the knowledge base, the index, the curriculum, the training guides, the why it's built that way. You know, and empower them that they're going to be able to do a better job, and then give them a program of it. A program of advisory looks a lot different than a program of delivering financial statements.
I agree. And I wanted to dive into something else that you said. I'm watching, we've got 5 minutes left. Dashboards. And I feel like we've been talking about dashboards in this profession in CAS for the last 10 years. And yet I don't see a lot of firms really sharing dashboards with the small business or even the mid-sized business, maybe the mid-sized business, but they're asking for it. I know they're asking for it. We have dashboards at Botkeeper. Intact has dashboards that firms can customize for the client, and most of the firms aren't. They're not customizing them for the client. The really good ones are, but I don't know. I know we talk about the client wanting a dashboard, but are you really, what are you delivering from a customized dashboard perspective? What do your clients want? What are you creating for them to see every single day, every single week?
You know, I'm just going to say not enough. I don't think we as accountants who are in the profession and have been for so long have been trained on how to do all of that. I think we're at the point right now where we must have programs to change all of this. You know, we just had a big leadership meeting and we learned about the different generations, and you know, the Gen Zers that are coming in that have always had, you know, a device on them, they have to see data differently, et cetera. They're so in tune. And so we're at that point where we've got to go to digital dashboards, and we've got to learn how to build them and create them and then craft them for the most relevant for our clients. With Botkeeper, I'm very impressed with the widgets that are out there that you offer for free. And then for a small charge, you can do a customized dashboard the way that it's built. But we're so focused on month-end close and meeting with the client and all of that, that's one more thing to add, that we've got to draw that up. And then that's the difference of right brain, left brain. Like we see in numbers, but our clients see in pictures. And we've got to learn how to build pictures off of our numbers brains.
Yeah, I just real quick, Dixie, you spoke at the digital conference, and that was one of the things you talked about, how people are visual learners. And I'm definitely a visual learner. And when I present, I always present with a PowerPoint because I feel like it brings alive what I'm saying. And tends to be no words on my PowerPoint, it's pictures, but it's just, I feel like people learn easier. It makes sense a little bit, simplifies what you're trying to get across. And so can you share some of that? We've got 2 minutes left, but can you share what you were talking about, how our clients are visual learners?
Yeah, you know, I owe a whole lot of credit to Amy Bridges, who keeps teaching me. You know, she is all about education and educating our profession, and there's 3 ways that people learn. And so I want to crush clients with all 3 ways. I want to be able to narrate it. I want to have it written and documented so they can absorb it later if they want to read it, but also in pictures. I'm also a visual learner. And oftentimes I am carrying around my digital notebook that has every single word I've ever written because that's how my brain works. So some clients like to read reports. Got one too, Christine. So I have always had a notebook, but now I have it a different way. And clients are mostly, I think it's, don't quote me, I think it's 72 or 82% of people are visual learners. I had that in my presentation. I just don't remember the numbers, but most people learn visually. And when you can show that you can spot errors and trends in a picture and show them, it's this aha moment that cuts down on the time explaining, you know, digging into the details, like expand a general ledger code and blah, 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 blah. Instead, the one picture conveys it all very succinctly.
Yeah, I would just say too, right?
Yeah.
Because they don't want to be in the weeds. They want to be high level. You have to create and tell them the story without taking them into all of the details.
Yeah. So we've got a minute left. I wish this was an hour-long conversation. I appreciate your time. Christine, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, how can they get in touch with you? And then also Dixie.
Absolutely. I'm on LinkedIn, and my email is ctriantos@bdo.com.
Thank you so much. And Dixie, how can folks reach you?
Yeah, LinkedIn is definitely the easiest, but my email is also dixie.mccurley@cbh.com.
Wonderful, ladies. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Lot.